I've been asked by quite a few people what my general experiences are as being a tourist in Armenia. So I thought I'd put together a brief overview of what it's like going to Armenia as a tourist. So this isn't going to be about all the different specific places you can go to. It's more just a generic overview of the experience I'd expect you'd have if you come to Armenia as a tourist. I mean, the first thing is it's easy. Most people will fly into Yerevan Airport, and it's a short taxi drive to the city centre, and it's very easy to get a taxi from there. And then the main thing is once you're in Yerevan, find where you're staying, and you'll find it easy because the majority of people, certainly in the service industry, speak English very, very well. In fact, I'd say that the majority of people in the service industry in all parts of Armenia will speak English to some level. Certainly enough to be able to get by, and some people will speak it excellently. Particularly, I'd say the majority of people, ballpark under 50, will speak some level of English. The elder generation, they will more likely speak Russian as their second language. But everywhere you go in restaurants, etc., you'll invariably have a menu given. They'll have English, Russian, as well as Armenian. So that's never a problem. I usually get given a Russian one because everyone thinks I'm Russian, which is interesting because I've probably got a better idea of working out Armenian. And also, as far as the alphabet being completely different in Armenian to the Western typical alphabet, most signs, whether it be road signs or shop signs, restaurants, etc., even in supermarkets, will have English, Russian, and Armenian. So language is never a problem. The tourism industry in Armenia is thriving. It's very much noticeable for me, having spent 4 months there in 2021 and 2 months this year, 2022. How much busier it was, particularly in Yerevan and Goris. And that's based off spending a long time there, both years. So it wasn't just a fluke 1 week, for example. I think there's lots of reasons for that. I think the obvious one, which affected everybody globally, was COVID. Even though 2021 restrictions were lifting, and certainly in Armenia there was very few restrictions whatsoever. But obviously that impacted the amount of people coming from countries where the restrictions were not lifted as quickly. And it's certainly noticeable that prices of restaurants and hotels have risen as a result of the increased demand. And in regards to prices, so even though I said they've increased, you still have to put it into perspective. It's still substantially cheaper than what you'd be used to paying in majority of places in Europe or the States, and also the major cities in Asia. But I think for everybody globally has seen prices rise. Global inflationary pressures have hit everybody. But unique to Armenia and certain other countries in that region, there's also been a large influx of refugees from Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus, and that's obviously added to the demand for accommodation, and by default that pushes up all the prices in the hotels, and just more people in there, more demand for restaurants, etc. The prices have gone up there as well. I'm talking about restaurants as well. We're talking generally about tourism. The diversity of food in Armenia, is second to none. You'll be able to get any type of cuisine, from anywhere around the world that you want, and the quality will invariably be very, very good. And that's also driven heavily by the fact that the majority of the produce they use there, whether it be vegetables or fruit, is grown locally, and it's super fresh, and that gives you an assurance that you're eating good, healthy food, which is always good. So even outside of Yerevan, you'll find that there'll be plenty to choose from to meet practically everybody's palate. And there are quite a lot of vegetarian and vegan restaurants popping up as well, and also lots of sort of niche, cool little hidden away coffee shops. And as far as the breakdown of tourists, I think it's fair to say that the majority of tourists are Russian, probably followed by Iranians, but there's still plenty of Europeans, I would say mainly French, German, quite a few Italians I would say as well. You'll hear plenty of British accents and American accents. Obviously there's a lot of Americans come there as well because of the large community of diaspora Armenians, particularly in California, but all across the world, but a big centre of diaspora from the US. In pre-COVID, there was a lot of Chinese, Hong Kong tourists as well, but obviously as the restrictions there are still quite strict, that is a little bit lacking at the moment. As far as getting around, it's very easy. Certainly in Yerevan and Gyumri, you don't need a car around the city itself, or maybe cities. The layouts are very easy to navigate and they're very compact. Yerevan also does have a metro. It's small, I think it's about 8 stations on it, but it's efficient and clean and very cheap. So I think it's about 100 dram per trip, and given it's about 400 dram to the dollar, that's not much more than about 25 cents per trip. They also have taxis. There are still old taxis that you could just hail down and pay cash, but the majority of people now use Gigi or Yandex, which is the equivalent of Uber. You just download the app and you're up and running. You can also link it to your credit card as well, so you're not paying cash, which is handy. And on just a short journey, you wouldn't be paying more than 1,000 dram, so $2.50. I think even like going to and from the airport would be less than $10, or say $10 ballpark. You can also get a train direct from Yerevan to Gyumri and back. It's about an hour and 45 minutes. Again, modern train, and that's also about $10. But if you want to get out of the 2 main cities and explore, I'd recommend you hire a car, particularly if you want to do things on your own schedule. But if you don't want to, then there are plenty of guided tours that you can take, which I'll give a brief run through now. Yeah, so other than hiring a car, there are many tour companies in Armenia, particularly in Yerevan and Gyumri, and you'll see them on the streets. But I mean, you can also just Google Armenian tourism and travel, and you'll find heaps of companies on the internet, and they'll have many options that will show you. And the prices can vary depending on whether you want to do it a bit more customized as more of a private tour, or if you're traveling on a little bit of a budget, then you can take a bus tour, and that can either be a big coach depending on the demand, or just a small minibus. But most of the trips, for a half-day trip, you probably wouldn't be spending more than $20, and for a full-day trip, certainly not much more than 50, and that'll include a lunch. And they can be a long day out, for easily 14 hours, from like maybe an 8 a.m. start to get back late in the evening. But that you can go anywhere. It just comes down to what you want to see. We've done both private tours as well as coach trips. But the bus tours, they're well organised, and they are language specific. So invariably be English or Russian, or sometimes if it's somewhere not so popular destination, it might be a bit of both. But the tour guide will be multilingual. And if you want to do longer excursions, which include an overnight, the tour companies do them, but usually I would suggest that you pay the extra and have a private guide and driver. But it all depends on your constraints, both the time and budget. And there's also lots of more niche trips you can do. There's company that does hiking tours, so you can do like maybe up to a week excursion, going pretty much off the normal tourist routes and doing some proper hiking in the fantastic scenery that they've got there. And that can either be camping, or it can be staying at just small bed and breakfasts. They can arrange all of that. And as someone who used to do a lot of cycling touring, it was pleasant to see that there was quite a lot of people there doing bike touring. That wasn't, from what I could see, arranged by tourist companies, but just people on their own or in small groups, because particularly outside of the city, it's a very, very good country for doing cycling touring, whether you're camping or staying in B&Bs. The roads might be a bit hit and miss at times, but they're generally not that busy outside of Yerevan. So plenty of options, just whatever takes your fancy, really. Without going into details of all the different places to go and visit in Armenia, outside of Yerevan and Gyumri, where there's plenty of things to see just in the cities themselves, certainly from Yerevan, I'd recommend a day trip out to some of the areas close by with historic importance. Certainly go to Goris, which has great views over Mount Ararat. It's pretty much the history of where Christianity in Armenia started. Also the Gerhard Monastery complex is well worth a visit, and definitely Garni as well, which is a 1st century pagan temple that is a UNESCO heritage site. I'd also recommend taking a trip out to Lake Sevan, which is I think just under an hour's drive from Yerevan. One of the largest lakes, certainly at that altitude, and it's a freshwater lake. Very, very interesting to see, and also how the climate changes. So that's an easy day trip. Dilijan You can do it as a day trip and combine it with a few other places, although personally I would recommend spending a couple of days there. There's plenty to see. It's just a very, very pretty place with a mixture of some really old buildings as well as the changes that we see everywhere with there's a UWC school which is one of the top international schools in the world. I'd also definitely recommend going down south, whether you do that as a tour bus. I personally again take a private car tour or drive, hire a car yourself and go down to Sunik, go and see Goris, Gemu, Tavez would be one of the things the world's longest cable car. Goris, you've got the ancient cave dwellings, swinging bridge that crosses over to that. It's quite interesting. Cornwall monasteries, there's Devil's Bridge, it's the Shaki waterfall. So yeah, plenty there. In the actual Tavez monastery itself is pretty impressive. There's also a ski resort, which I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the name. Struggle with every time. But it's also a nice place to visit during the summer. You can still take the cable car up. Fantastic scenery there. I'll try and pronounce it. It's Tazgadzor, although I probably butchered that horribly. But it is worth noting at the moment, so we're October 2022, as of September this year, some of the areas, certainly down in Sunik, are closed for tourism after Azerbaijan bombed both Goris and Gemu, as well as a few other places. So at the moment, those are closed to tourists. I don't even know if they're 100% officially closed, but it's certainly not recommended travelling there because it's reasonably close to the border with Azerbaijan. And yeah, that's another thing as well. If you've got an Armenian stamp in your passport, you want to go to Azerbaijan, then you may not get a friendly response. I'm not saying they won't let you in, but they certainly wouldn't let many Armenians in, and they might ask a few questions in regards to you having an Armenian stamp in your passport. I know from other tourists who come into Armenia who have an Azerbaijan stamp, they might get asked a few questions just to make sure that you're not a journalist or a spy going to say anything untoward, but yeah, it just might add an extra minute or two as you're coming into the country. And finally, I would add that if you are coming to Armenia, it would also be worthwhile going into Georgia as well, as they border, and explore a little bit of Georgia as well as Armenia. Certainly, if you came for 10 days or 2 weeks, it'd definitely be worth combining the two, because countries that have some similar histories, but at the same time have a lot of differences, and they're both great countries to tour and travel around, with a lot of history and just fantastic scenery. That's it says if you're in the region, you may as well tick them both off, because they're both excellent in their own right. Yeah, so in summary, traveling to Armenia as a tourist is very, very easy. Most places from the west, you'll be able to get no visa required, just get a stamp when you arrive. Certainly coming from the UK, it's 180 days you're allowed to stay. Apparently that can be extended quite easily as well, but I think it's pretty much the same for the whole of Europe. Can't speak for the rest of the world, but yeah, I highly recommend it. Over the time I've been there, last year and this, Been fortunate enough to visit many places there, but there's still a lot of places that I'd like to go and visit as well, and certainly like to go and do a bit more hiking, maybe do a bit of camping as well. Um, but you've just got a huge array of things, both from the the city living and the vibrancy of what you get in a different city. It's contrasted very heavily once you go out of the cities and see the countryside and the historical stuff, particularly with the history of Christianity, Armenia being the first country in the world to adopt Christianity as its national faith. So yeah, I would recommend anybody to go to Armenia and see what you think. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. You'll find the people incredibly welcoming, and I'm sure you'll have a really nice time. So let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to cover, and also if you have been to Armenia as a tourist, let me know what your experiences were. Thank you. See you next time.